Hey guys, I'm Eric.
And I'm Dan.
And you are on the 815 LSx Talk podcast. Welcome back, guys. Episode 3 of the 815 LSx Talk podcast. We've been gone for a little bit, but we've got a bunch of topics to cover today, so we'll jump right in. We did go to Cleetus and Cars probably about a month or two ago.
Yeah, I'd say about 2 months ago.
And we just kind of got some videos posted on the YouTube channel about that. So if you haven't seen that, head over there and check that out. But what was your thoughts overall of Cleetus and Cars?
So, honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect going into that one, and I was pleasantly surprised. Honestly, I couldn't find a moment where during any of the competitions they had set up, or the burnout competition, the drag races, where there was not like some point that had you on the edge of your seat and you were just wowed by what was going on there.
Yeah, I'd agree. It was definitely a blast. The drive wasn't too bad. The drive wasn't too bad. What was it, about 4 hours for us?
I think about 4.5 after we got lost the first time and went to the wrong place. So.
That's true. We went to the wrong entrance and we were waiting in line for the general admission entrance when we had tickets to the pit side.
Yeah, I think maybe next year they do a little bit better directing people to where they need to go, because there really wasn't any direction on where you got in there.
Yeah, and I think we might have even cut some people off that were waiting in line for the pit area just by the direction that we took to get in.
I'm okay with that, though. We got in.
And then we got there, and they parked us back in the grass, and then we went and found our buddy Mike and Steve from LSx Customs. They had their car parked up further in the pits, like up on the cement, and they were parked next to Klaus, the Barbarian. So after a little bit, we went and got the truck and moved the truck up, so we were parked right next to them. And they drove, what did they say, 9 hours in the Narcs cart?
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That'd be brutal. No body, just all cart.
Yeah, and it seemed like it was a smooth ride coming, but on the ride back, I know they ran into a little bit of rain.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he handled that. I couldn't do that. I mean, I could try, but I don't know that I can do it.
It was definitely fun hanging out with those guys. They were awesome. They booked the Airbnb that we ended up staying the night with, so we didn't have to drive our 4.5 hours back at like 11 o'clock. And it was overall a good time. We got there. We got everything set up. What'd they have first? I guess we went through the pits first. We got to see all the cars that were in the main pit area, and then they had another area where they had all the YouTubers parked at. So we got to go through there and check out all those cars and mingle amongst the quote.
Between Kevin and Cleetus was the first race, and we weren't even there to see that one start. Didn't even know they were doing it at the time. We were down at the end of the pits by...
It was the RTR. It was Chelsea Denofa and the drift cars that were all the way down at the end, and then it was the semi, the big purple hauler that hauled all of Cleetus's cars.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and all I remember was sitting down there, and then all of a sudden I heard the car doing a burnout from about a quarter mile away, because we're sitting underneath the traps, and I look over and I just hear the car just open wide up. And within a few seconds, we get to see Ruby coming past us at about, 170 some miles an hour. I think he said it was the second fastest pass it ever made.
Yeah, and that was pretty quick. And then we ran over to the fence to try to catch it. And obviously, he parked on the and drove back. And we got to see a couple other grudge races go down. And then we ended up grabbing our stuff and heading up into the stands. And then we caught their second grudge race. And then still stayed around, watched a little bit more of some grudge races, and then headed down. I think we grabbed some lunch after that.
Yep. Boiled out the grill and made some cheap food.
Yep. And then after that, we kind of lucked out to where they were starting to bring all the cars from that kind of YouTube area. They were driving them around because the drag strip was on one side of the parking lot, and then the Indianapolis Speedway was on the other side of the parking lot. So we actually were standing right where they were driving the cars from their kind of pit area across to the track to start getting ready for the burnout competition. The drag strip was on one side of the parking lot, and then the Indianapolis Speedway was on the other side of the parking lot. So we actually were standing right where they were driving the cars from their kind of pit area across to the track to start getting ready for the burnout competition.
Yeah, it was kind of like a high horsepower
Cruise?
I'd call it more of a parade.
There you go.
It was an awesome high horsepower parade. Those
Yeah.
cars were really, it was something else to see in person. It's like something that you can't see the gravity of it on YouTube and understand like how big in real life these cars are, and like just being like right in front of Ruby and seeing how big that turbo was. You don't get that aspect by watching it on YouTube. It doesn't look that physically big, and it's so menacing in person.
That was probably one of my favorite parts, was just being an arm's length away from these cars as they're driving by with his cell phone as I'm recording him driving by. That was kind of a cool moment.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them where I was, able to catch them coming right through. Like a what's up from the drivers as they're going by. And I mean, these are people that I've been watching for years on YouTube and never, first time ever get to meet them in person. And it looked like they really take the time to have a lot of one-on-one with their fans, and it seems like that's their highest priority.
And we got to be over by Cleetus when he came back from his first pass against Kevin.
Yep, we were at the gates to his pit area when he came back.
So they had kind of some gates blocked off, but we were able to be pretty close, and he was definitely interacting with everybody, talking to everybody while he was doing some tuning. And it was cool to see him interact. As big as he is, he's very, very interactive with his fans.
Yeah, fan-oriented.
He's very, very interactive with his fans.
Yeah, fan-oriented. I don't know how he does it. I'm watching this guy, in the middle of this, trying to like get some issues taken care of, working on the car. I think he was changing plugs. He was doing all this stuff with, 1,000 people standing around and watching his every move. And I don't know how he can do that, but I could never do that. And then in the middle of it, still taking time to interact with all of his fans.
Yeah, it was definitely a very cool experience to be able to just be a part of. I had wanted to go to one of these Cleetus and Cars, and I agree with what you said. Wasn't really sure what to expect, but I definitely think it was probably one of my favorite events that I've been to so far.
This is definitely my top. I have not been to one single automotive event that tops what I saw there.
And I believe they said the Indianapolis one was the biggest Cleetus and Cars they've had so far.
Yeah.
And after the cars kind of paraded through, we decided we should probably head over to where the burnout contest was and try to find a spot. And boy, I'm glad we did, because by the time we walked over there, it was packed.
But we did get a good spot. We were front center, right in the middle of the grandstands there. So, I mean, we got right in front of the burnout pad.
Yeah, we were probably, halfway up from the bottom of the stands, and like you said, kind of almost right in the middle of the burnout pad.
Yep, because I remember when that wheel exploded on George's truck. I didn't know. I saw it at the time that some of the pieces of that rim, which I thought it was just concrete flying up, but it ended up being his wheel. And I saw them go up in the air and kind of disappear. And I saw from somebody else's video who caught the back of my head in that video that one of those pieces landed like 2 rows behind me.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. When it happened, you didn't even really understand what was going on because it happened so quick.
Well, it was also like completely hidden in a cloud of smoke. We didn't even see the car when the rim exploded, or the truck when the rim exploded. All we saw was a cloud of smoke and then the pieces coming up from that. Just because he hit the wall so hard and was still in that burnout, like full send in that burnout for like another 5 seconds.
Yeah, George definitely had the no lift going on for that pass. That was awesome.
A lot of respect to that guy.
So then once we got up in the stands, they started the open burnout competition. So we got to see kind of a lot of the, I wouldn't call them locals, but just kind of the not YouTubers. So there was a lot of pretty cool and unique cars in there. There was the all-wheel drive.
Audi A4,
Yes.
LS Swap, Turbo.
That was pretty awesome. I wish he would have been able to keep that going in there. There was the all-wheel drive.
Audi A4,
Yes.
LS Swap, Turbo.
That was pretty awesome. I wish he would have been able to keep that going. It looked like he blew out one of his diffs. But he did all-wheel drive forward burnouts. He did all-wheel drive backwards burnouts.
Yeah, nobody even realized it was all-wheel drive until he actually started doing the burnout, and then saw that the way it was kind of crab walking in the burnout was actually really cool. And then that's when even the announcers realized that it was a all-wheel drive setup.
Then they had the backwards truck. That was kind of unique. If you haven't seen that in the video, check that out. They actually basically took the body and flipped it, and so the truck drove forward while it looked like it was in reverse.
Yeah, what did the guy say? He got like pulled over like 70 times so far, and like only one ticket for not having windshield wipers. Long time.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Then there was the Dodge Cummins that had 3 wheels on each side in the back.
Yeah, I don't even know what you call that. It's not a dually. It's like a triply.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you would call that either, but that was definitely cool. What else was there? There was the
F-150 with a sofa for seats.
Yep.
I think it was, it had a Buick spliced into the body.
Yeah, that was definitely interesting. Then there was a guy that won, which was the orange Dodge pickup with no bed on it.
Yeah, was it a Gen 3? Yeah, I think it was a Gen 3 Ram. And all he did was flip the headers up through the roof of the hood and cut, was it little zoomies with the collectors sticking out?
Yeah, something like that. And what was it, 5-6 minutes of just constant burnout before the tires actually blew?
Yeah, I think Cleetus was even making a comment as to how many plies those tires had, because they just wouldn't give up, and it was full smoke the whole time. I mean, it was an amazing burnout to watch, and I think at the end of it, he even blew his radiator hose off because he was just puking fluid all over.
Yeah, but then at the end of the burnout, Cleetus came over and the thing was still running.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess Mopar or no car, right? But that's not what we do here.
Yeah, and then there was the red, white, and blue. What was that little?
The Vega.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a methanol Vega. That one was nuts because he came into the burnout, immediately broke his throttle cable and had to leave. Ended up getting disqualified, but they ended up letting him run in the end, and they thought he had it fixed, and to find out that at the end of his burnout, he just had a string running through the throttle. Or they thought he had it fixed, and to find out that at the end of his burnout, he just had a string running through the throttle, or he had a throttle cable coming right through his firewall and was just yanking on the thing to keep the thing going. So, I mean, he should have won just based on the ingenuity to get that thing back on there.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So by the end of the burnout competition, if you weren't sitting in the stands thinking about how you were going to build a burnout car, then I don't know what you were thinking, because that was so much fun.
Yeah, we definitely need to have something to bring down there next year, because we're definitely going back next year. As long as he has it, we're going.
And then after the open burnout competition, then you got into the Burnout Rivals, which is where all the kind of YouTubers came in. And once again, Cleetus came in with Neighbor and just did an absolutely insane burnout to kick that off. Ended up popping the tires and
was burning right next to the fuel cell. And I remember that. All I saw was him take off booking away from the car, grabbed a fire extinguisher, and ran right back. I don't think anybody can run as fast as him, because he's got like mile-long legs. So ended up putting that out, and then they just released a video of it, a couple days ago, showing like that it burned the wire harness down, and that's what cut out the fuel pump in the first place, why it stalled. And then showed how close the fire was to the fuel cell.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy too. I know they were just starting to work on getting that rewired, so that'll be cool. Hopefully he has that ready for whatever his next event will be.
Actually, his last video at the end of it, when he was narrating, he showed they were messing with the lights and sirens the whole time. They had it all done.
Oh yeah, I did remember seeing that or hearing that.
Yeah, it seemed like they're just more screwing with him with it because he was trying to record.
Probably. And then
And
once and then once the Burnout Rivals was done, they had a short break and then they went in, which we didn't catch too much of that. Everybody kind of started to leave. We went down to we went down to the parking lot or the pit area, kind of wandered through there. I think Steve and Mike might have grabbed some food.
yeah, I remember looking for some merch, but it looked like they got slammed really hard. I hit the Cleetus booth and they just had practically nothing left there by that time. And I know they said that they were bringing a lot down for that event, but it just shows to how many people they really had there that they were able to sell out everything within that event.
Yeah, that's probably my one regret for Cleetus and Cars was not going and getting a Cleetus and Cars t-shirt when we first got there. So next time we go, it doesn't matter how long the line is. When you get there, if you want a Cleetus and Cars t-shirt, make sure you wait in line and get that right away, because if you wait till later, they will be gone. And that's the one shirt that you can't go and buy on his website. It's the one shirt that you can't go and buy on his website.
Yeah, most definitely.
So overall, again, Cleetus and Cars was fantastic. Again, we stayed at the Airbnb with the Narcs guys. Woke up in the morning, got to go for a ride in the Narcs cart before we all left. I will have a video of that coming out here soon. But again, awesome show. I highly recommend it to anybody that hasn't gone. It's definitely worth checking out. I think it's worth the extra $25 to get the pit pass as well, because your car is right by where you're parked or where you're watching. So if you do bring a cooler or anything, food, you don't have to walk all the way around to the other parking lot to get it. And again, it was only an extra $25 to get that.
Right.
And don't be like Narcs and think that you only need a way around to the other parking lot to get it. And again, it was only an extra $25 to get that.
Right.
And don't be like Narcs and think that you only need a pit pass to get in. You do still need general admission tickets for each person, and then one parking pass for the vehicle that's going in. So after Cleetus and Cars, we planned on coming back. We were gonna put out a video right away. I guess that would be the second thing that we learned, is that don't go to bed after Cleetus and Cars. Go back to your hotel or your Airbnb and start editing your videos and start putting videos out right away. There was some, I don't remember the channel name, but there was somebody that was putting out videos, I think, as the show went on, and his view count was absolutely insane.
Yeah, I wanted to do some live stream from there, but as a lot of people were also noting, painfully slow, so I don't even know that live stream would have done very well out there, unless somehow we can get an actual wired connection, which is just almost impossible.
Yeah. But we were really close to our Airbnb. It was probably 5-10 minutes away from the track. So had we gone home or back to the Airbnb and started editing, we probably would have been able to get a decent video put out that night. So that would be, I guess, regret number 2, was not putting that video out as soon as possible.
Yeah, so next time just a bunch of Red Bull and 5-hour energy, and we stay up and put out some videos.
Yep, because we got the Airbnb and we can sleep there until whenever we want to get up and drive back.
That's right.
So then after Cleetus and Cars, I had some school left to finish. I was on the last leg of my associate's degree, so I finished that up. I ended up leg of my associate's degree, so I finished that up. I ended up the Thursday. I ended up going to Michigan to visit some family. Came back on Friday, graduated with my associate's degree, and then turned around on Sunday and got on a plane and went to Colorado for a week for work. So that was a very busy week. Then we came back, and I think it was only another week later, and then we went to Florida for a family vacation.
So what did you guys get to do there?
Well, obviously, my number one priority was to make a trip to the Freedom Factory, which I did do. There's some pictures of that. I did drop off some 815 LSx Swaps stickers in the Freedom Factory mailbox, which Freedom Frank did respond on Instagram that they grabbed those. And Camp Kiefer did respond on Instagram that they grabbed those. And Camp Kiefer just had a post that he was at the Freedom Factory and told me that he did see the stickers in the office. So I do know that they made it to at least the office area, which is honestly pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty sweet to actually have him take the time to actually, pull those in and actually look at them rather than, I'm sure he gets tons of stuff just left there. And I know he's asked not to have anybody leave anything outside the gates. Not as much, the mailbox, but I'm sure he gets inundated with just tons of stuff, people's stickers, people's merchandise, anything they want to give him just to, get a shout out or something. And for the fact that take the time to actually, get those, retrieve them, and actually put them in the office was pretty cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Freedom Frank for grabbing those. That was pretty cool. Also, while we were there, we flew into Tampa. We spent some time in the Tampa area, went to Clearwater. We left there and went over to Orlando and spent a day or two in Orlando. Went to an all-day park there, got to swim with dolphins, go snorkeling, see some sharks. That was a good time. Then from there we drove over to Miami, and then went from Miami all the way down to Key West. And then we ended up flying out of Miami. I think we were in Florida for a total of 8 days. And we just got back a couple weeks ago, which was perfect timing because obviously the hurricane is coming through right now. And I saw on the news that we were at the southernmost point in Key West. And right now that is just getting hit hard with water coming up and over into that area and flooding. So I guess our timing was pretty perfect.
The next Cleetus and Cars schedule, and I believe it's November 20th at the Freedom Factory. I would love to do that one. I just don't know that the timing would work for that. I don't really want to wait till end of November to head down there. I was thinking sometime in September. But if it works out, we'll aim it for that, and we'll try to get some footage from actually doing a Cleetus and Cars at the Freedom Factory, because I will definitely make time to get there.
Absolutely. And if not, we can fly from Rockford to Bradenton, and we might just have to pick a weekend and fly down there and go to an event. I think it would be
November 20th.
I think it'd be amazing to go to an actual event at the Freedom Factory. It just seems like it's such a cool vibe. I know how it was in Indy, and I can't imagine how awesome it would be at his own track.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see it. I want to step foot in the Freedom Factory. It'd be really awesome to
was in Indy, and I can't imagine how awesome it would be at his own track.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see it. I want to step foot in the Freedom Factory. It'd be really awesome to just get past the front gate, which a lot of people have never done. And I know he's had a couple public events, but still they sell out pretty quickly. And just to get in there and see everything real to life would be just amazing.
Yeah, and the other option would have been to get into the Ranger Danger 9000, which I screwed up on that. I didn't think that it was going to be the first 30 people, so I was going to wait and fill out the form and, take my time, fill it out super nice, get a lot of information in there on at least my vehicles, my background as a driver, and kind of get his attention. And then he put out a post saying that he was just taking the first 30. So it would have been amazing to be able to get into that Ranger Danger 9000. Even if we didn't win and be able to get into the 2.4 hours of Le Mullets, just being able to race there and getting that kind of, recognition, or having people see our vehicle and have our channel name on the side of it would have been so cool. And then the fact just to be able to race there would be on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I just don't know that we'd be able to see anything anymore there. Pretty much burn your retinas out with those new lights you've got.
Yeah, I did see that video. They look amazing. It's such a difference from what he had before, and he doesn't even have the burnout pad lights up.
And you can still see that from space.
Hopefully he does some lighting in the pit area, because it looks like that's going to be where they need some lights next.
Right.
So outside of vacation, we got back. We kind of settled back into our routine. It was getting warm here, so we were finally able to start working on some cars. Do you got any updates on where you're at with BMW stuff?
So that's been a little bit of a struggle. I've been running into a few issues and finally started figuring out what's going on. And so the update with that is been messing with the fuel system, been having issues with injectors not performing correctly. So I've been working with Snake Eater Performance. I know they got a lot of good reviews, and I know there's some reviews out there that people say that their quality control is not consistent. They've had some issues with their injectors. I just want to say that no matter what problem I had, their customer service is really tops with that, and they do a really good job trying to make sure that if you have an issue, they take care of it. They stand behind their product enough to do that. So even if there is a small issue, customer service is really tops with that, and they do a really good job trying to make sure that if you have an issue, they take care of it. They stand behind their product enough to do that. So even if there is a small issue, they're there to take care of you, and you're the customer. They're going to take care of that order. So the issue I ran into was having some problems with it would start up fine the first time, but if I shut off the car and didn't let it completely cool down to just ambient air temperature and start it back up, it would run incredibly lean. It'd be misfiring on multiple cylinders. It just wouldn't run right, and it would just completely fall on its face until I let it run for 10-15 minutes, and then it would clear itself up. Sent those injectors back. They said some of them wouldn't pass a pressure test. They sent me a whole brand new set. Tried again, still started having some of the same issues. Turns out that the decas that they're running now were about extra quarter inch. They start to push away from where that fuel rail needs to be because they sit at an angle opposite each other, and the higher they go, the more they're pulling away from each other. So I let them know what I saw going on. So they looked into that and sent me a link to a podcast or actually a live stream that they had done with the Sloppy Mechanics page, and said that yes, they are aware that if you tweak the bodies of these injectors even a little, it can actually destroy the bodies inside of them, and it's a known issue with it. You have to keep them perfectly straight. They weren't aware that fuel rail, the factory fuel rail, was going to start putting pressure on them. So they sent me ones to replace them. I went with an aftermarket rail and made sure that they're installed correctly, and now I haven't had any more issues with it. So we're now to a point where I can start getting it tuned in, and we should start having some more content with that. But I wanted to shout out to Snake Eater for standing behind their issues with it. So we're now to a point where I can start getting it tuned in, and we should start having some more content with that. But I wanted to shout out to Snake Eater for standing behind their product and not telling me, oh, well, you destroyed 2 sets of injectors, you're on your own. They replaced them. They took care of it.
And that's really all you can ask for any company, is just to stand behind your products and have excellent customer care, because nobody wants to have issues with anything that they buy, especially when you're spending your hard-earned money on aftermarket parts and then you have issues with them. But even their shipping and everything was super quick, so your downtime was really minimized. So definitely awesome that they did that. Again, they didn't have to. They could have just told you you're SOL, but yep, that's pretty awesome, and I wouldn't be afraid to order Snake Eater injectors again.
Absolutely.
But in the meantime, you did end up ordering another set of injectors. To have as a backup, just in case, right?
Yeah, so I went and grabbed a set of Hunter tuned. I knew he was on a backlog with those. He had made a post about being really far behind because of not being able to get the parts anymore. But I guess that must be cleared up because I got them within a week of ordering them. And I just wanted them as a backup if I was testing something and it wasn't running right. I wanted to make sure I could rule out the injectors. Like, I'm having a small issue with some burst knock when rolling into medium boost, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't the snake eater injectors, that I did something else wrong with them or the problem with them. So I was able to swap over to the Hunter tuned, which are the same flow rate and very minimal changes, same issue. So I'm just assuming the TR6 plugs that I got aren't gapped right, so we'll be just pull those off and check them. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just get rid of the knock sensors. We don't need that.
We don't need that where we're going.
Yeah, you'll have that on these big jobs though.
So that's kind of one hot side just about done. And as soon as we finish recording this podcast, we're going to go work on getting the other hot side completed. And I think those Hunter Tune injectors might have a home for them.
Oh yeah, we need to get this thing rolling.
So look for that content to be coming soon. We've got some video already recorded, so hopefully maybe after we finish today, we might have enough content to do our first video on that build series.
Yes. We should have enough of it knocked out today. I hope to have the entire hot side finished and at least get enough video recorded for that.
So those are the updates on our cars. 240 hasn't really changed much. We have talked about putting a cam in that. Nothing's for certain yet, so that's kind of, that car runs and drives as it is, so when we do need, those are the updates on our cars. 240 hasn't really changed much. We have talked about putting a cam in that. Nothing's for certain yet, so that's kind of, that car runs and drives as it is, so when we do need something to work on, which I don't know if we ever will need something, we've gotten to a point where we've got quite a bit of projects now, but that will kind of be something that we have on the back burner that we can always do some upgrades on that.
Yeah, hog ass cam and a big blower.
Hell yeah, brother. So we also have a new project that's going to be released on our YouTube channel here soon. You want to tell them a little bit about that?
Alright, so if you guys have been following Facebook, you've been seeing the post I've been making on it. So my brother-in-law wanted to LS swap his 78 El Camino, and right now it's just a 350, real standard, understated, simple build. There's nothing special about this other than a rebuild on the motor and a cam. So we ended up going out to the junkyard. We picked up an 03 LQ4. Everything seemed nice about it, but when we got it torn apart, we found out that some moisture did get into one of the cylinders, and it did rust the rings to the cylinder wall. They broke free rather easily, didn't damage the piston or the ring. So we had it hot tanked and checked out, and the pitting was a lot deeper than it looked. So we went ahead and bored it 30 over, new pistons, and we decided to go ahead and refresh everything while we're doing this. It was gonna be a junkyard build, and then it turned into a complete fresh build. So we've been recording everything we've been doing on this, from the teardown to the complete build-up. We have most of the engine put back together now, and we did decide to cam it, so it's going to get a Texas Speed and Performance cam. Actually already got the cam. So that's just a low-lift cathedral port cam that they have. They're 50 horsepower and 20-some foot-pounds of torque on a 5.3, so interested to see what it's going to do on a 6-liter, especially bored 30 over. I know it's not going to make much of a difference, but it should do a little.
Yeah, so that should be pretty cool to see that come together. I know I have been helping a little bit, not as much as you guys have been doing, but that motor looks amazing. You guys got it cleaned up really well. I know the block's painted, the heads look amazing, and Pete's been doing some painting on the accessories and stuff, so I'm excited to see that come together. That's going to be a cool build, and so make sure you guys look for that playlist. That should be coming out soon as well.
Yeah, we've got a lot of the content already recorded, especially for the teardown. We'll probably do a 2-part video on that one with the teardown and then the build-up, and maybe a 3rd video for the startup. But we got most of the work done on it, and we should actually, we'll probably do a 2-part video on that one with the teardown and then the build-up, and maybe a 3rd video for the startup. But we got most of the work done on it, and we should actually be finishing it up and buttoning it up within the next week or so to actually do a fire up. And Once that's done, it's gonna sit on the back burner for a little bit because he wants to still be able to run and drive his car for a little while. And we plan on doing the swap sometime around winter. Maybe not winter, but like, you know, late fall, maybe November or something like that. When it's, once you can no longer drive around here, and that's about when we start getting our first snowfall, anyways.
Yep, so that'll be cool. For the like Dan mentioned, we'll do a startup actually on the engine stand, kind of like we did with the BMW. So
I don't know. I saw a pretty cool one the other day. I think about just slapping one of the transmissions to the back of it, hang it from an engine stand, and he can ride it like a motorcycle while he's firing it up.
So yeah, make sure you look out for that build. That'll be coming soon. Also on the Fox body, we also got a Holley Terminator X for that. That's something that I've been wanting to get for a while. I did end up selling the RX-8 that was on the channel, and I picked up another just car to flip. It was just a '05 Cobalt. It was nothing special, but got that running and flipped that. So I had a little bit of extra money in my pocket, and I knew that that was something that I wanted to get for, one, to clean up the wiring, because the wiring that was in the Fox body was originally just a factory harness that I kind of stripped down to the bare necessities. And it worked, obviously, because we got to make some passes in the car, but I knew that wasn't the permanent solution. So I wanted to get it to clean up the engine bay, but also to kind of learn how to tune on something other than the factory ECU. Probably after we get the twin turbo kit built, then we'll start installing the Terminator, and then we'll probably get back to the 815 tuning, and we'll do some videos on that.
Yeah, I'm super excited to actually start playing around with the Terminator on that one, because it's something that I've always kind of been interested in seeing how that works. I've seen a lot of people use it. It looks really easy, user-friendly. It's not playing around with a lot of factory settings like the HP tuners is and trying to make things work. These are built to do this, and there's so much more usability from them and a lot of custom features we can enable on there to make it do what we want it to do. So I'm really excited to actually start that one.
And one thing with our channel, you'll see that we will be honest with our installation. So it does seem like it's super easy, but if we do run into any hiccups, we will definitely share that so that everybody can see and kind of know what to expect if you're doing a... So it does seem like it's super easy, but if we do run into any hiccups, we will definitely share that so that everybody can see and kind of know what to expect if you're doing a Terminator X on your own car.
Yeah, that I've made some little hiccups here and there on the BMW, and like I said, I'm not afraid to show those things.
Absolutely not, because that's how you learn. And we aren't a shop. We're just a couple guys that enjoy doing these LS engines, so we're gonna show you exactly the things that we ran into.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and go over a lot of that with the El Camino build too. I mean, not everything was perfect, not everything was right the first time. We were planning a certain type of build for that one, and it went a completely different direction. So we're going to make sure that it's all transparently in there.
And then the only other car that we still have is the Infiniti, which is another car that's kind of on the back burner for right now. Burnout car.
That'd be sick, though.
So we might do kind of a cage, that's something similar to what the Narcs cart looks like, and just do a cage and kind of a cart build. And then we probably won't do a motor swap on that one right away, just because we need to get the cage and everything done and get it to a point that we could take it to a burnout contest. But obviously we wouldn't be 815 LSx Swaps if that car didn't eventually have an LS in it.
Yeah, I'm thinking all-wheel drive LS swap, ADE, and big cam.
That would definitely probably do some good burnouts.
Absolutely.
So maybe when we get the other motor built for the Fox body, because I do have a spare block that has been hot tanked and ready to be built, and I do have some aftermarket parts that I've been kind of saving for that engine and not putting on the engine that's in the car now, because that's just the junkyard engine and it pretty much just got a refresh. So I do have some parts kind of saved up for that, and we're going to do a twin turbo cam when we do that. But once we do that, as long as we don't put a freedom window in the junkyard motor, that could be a candidate for the Infiniti.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I still have a bunch of parts too. We got to figure out what to do with. I got an entire C6 Corvette rear from the torque tube all the way back to the tires.
We have so many spare parts between the two of us that we could definitely build an entire another car. I've got a whole nother 8.8. I've got the other block. I've got heads. I've got a ton of parts down here in my basement. You've got a ton of parts in your basement. So
absolutely, yeah, a couple transmissions, a bunch of internal
down here in my basement. You've got a ton of parts in your basement. So
absolutely, yeah, a couple transmissions, a bunch of internals too.
You just never throw that stuff away. There's always a use for it.
That's right.
So I guess next up on the agenda would be any kind of upcoming events. Are there any events that you plan on going to this year?
Haven't made any plans in general yet. I haven't seen much scheduling going on for any special events. I was wanting to see when the drag week comes through our area. I'd like to see if Cleetus is planning on doing that one. And again, I know he was planning on last year, but that one kind of fell through due to situations going on at the time. But I'd like to see if they are planning on doing that one, but I definitely want to see the drag week when it comes through Byron Dragway. But give some updates on that because I'm definitely going to be recording that stuff.
Yeah, as far as I know, they are still planning on doing drag week. It looks like right now it is going to be Thursday, September 16th. So I do have the time off of work, so I do plan on going to that. I'm not sure if Cleetus and them are going to be there. I know Alex Taylor and Dennis Taylor were planning on bringing their 55 that they just built. So that would be cool to see. So definitely going to have some content to that as long as that comes. And probably take the new pocket rocket down there and cruise around the pits.
Oh, absolutely.
So there'll probably be a little bit of footage. There won't be a whole lot, but I did pick up a little pocket rocket that my thoughts were we'd take it to Cleetus and Cars or take it to Byron and just kind of cruise through the pits with it and get some footage of all the cars.
Yeah, that'd be a great camera vehicle for...
We'd take it to Cleetus and Cars or take it to Byron and just kind of cruise through the pits with it and get some footage of all the cars.
Yeah, that'd be a great camera vehicle for Cleetus and Cars and the other events coming up.
Yeah, and then the other event that I plan on going to, which was actually supposed to be this weekend, is No Prep Kings in Cordova, Illinois. So that's southwest of us, kind of down by Davenport. That was supposed to be this weekend, but it did get canceled due to potential storms. So that got moved to August 6th and 7th, I believe. So the plan is still to go to that when it comes through. So I plan to get some good content on those drag races. Those guys have 3,000-4,000 horsepower cars. It's a different type of racing, but it's still awesome to watch.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun time there. Too bad I get...
About 40 minutes in, I think we'll probably wrap this episode up. Going forward, I think we are going to try to do a podcast every month. I don't think that would be too hard for us to do. That gives us a regular cadence. I know a couple people have reached out on Instagram that want to be on the podcast and come on and talk about their LS projects and just LS stuff in general. So I plan on trying to set something up with those guys. And if we can do more than one a month, that'd be great. But I at least want to try to keep on that regular cadence of doing one a month.
Yeah, I think that's a really good plan.
So if anybody else is interested on coming onto the podcast with us, email us at 815-LSx-Swaps@gmail.com, and we will get back to you and start trying to plan something. We might even try to do some... This might be the time to kind of try that out as well. You got anything else for him?
Nope, I think that wraps today's episode up.
All right, guys, make sure you follow along on our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Again, 815 LSx Swaps. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then this podcast will be played on all the different podcast services such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later.